Okay, let's do this. This is the fifth ode to TL61P. This is a set of odes dedicated, kind of like love ode, I guess, to TL61P, which is the now obsolete product code for a replacement door for a hot point tumble dryer, which doesn't exist anymore. So it's sadly, I guess in memory, but to TL61P, and this is TL61P5. I stupidly broke the catch. I slammed the door shut and the catch encased in the door is now broken. The catch inside the rim is fine, and if I lodge a spoon in there, it continues to function, but obviously then the door isn't closed. I'm having a nightmare finding a replacement door. I have managed to take the door off, but I can't seem to get the door apart to remove the catch itself, if only to decide by being openly impossible, by opening no longer deadly eyes to make me visible, and by that passion transparent or incalculable person whose love passes understanding that it isn't. She wants more than that, and so should you. Please slowly read all the notes on your coding notice. It's good to know the words. It's good to know that it's only that. Perturbation theory leads to an expression for the desired solution in terms of a formal power series and some small parameter that quantifies the deviation from the exactly solvable problem. What love can be trusted to fade, or fade over to trust? Devour the wind that just washes over you. Its meaning is our filling. Your reflection in glass blown into the shape of your face to accommodate your progressive jutting. Cracks appear in your shambolic argumentative scream. Learn fresh from orgasming. A rondo to oblivion. D'exécution transcendante. Too much levity leads to blessed strain injury for the dozen or so marketing executives who are secretly pretending to get good enough at free improvisation. Whatever the fuck this thought is, get it back! Commissioning variations on your theme. The screen thinks Yemen is cubist. Get it back! Mortality is the proceed of our meaning, to make spirit comprehensively succinct. The immutable is better than the mutable, the inviolable is better than the violable, and the incorruptible is better than the corruptible. Look at teeth. Africa, Wales, look at yourself, you don't need to be Dante. I go onto the mound, it's snowing a bit. The fence at the corner is obscurely associated with being loved, me being loved, and doing the creosoting for a meagre sum, which I think is a lot, but is also a way of rounding into the street with a feeling of disappointment. Twigs scratch and knock on it, redone in local colour. People are dragging back the sled. On the top, the snow is packed onto the muddy grass, strangely hard by all our feet. That is the efficiency of feet. People go down the mound. In the summer, when the snow is gone under the mud, I went there with David and ended up agreeing to be the one who was fucked, so long as I did not have to be the one who would fuck him back. And I put myself on my hands and knees with my pants down in front of him, facing away. I felt myself become a whole, I now think. I emerge as a whole for him. I emerge as a whole for you. We didn't get to do it. Our mothers came looking for us and stopped it even before our fear did. But I suspected even then that he was frightened or just indifferently disgusted, since otherwise surely he would have done it to me quicker, since I think so. But I mean that him fucking me would come first, but not me fucking him, or our mothers. We should have made our mothers come too late. I heard that he told people about it, and I was angry because I am ashamed at having yet again capitulated to secrecy. Secrecy is my enemy, like God engrossed in someone else. In the caravan in David's garden, I tried pressing him to agree to one last fuck without touching, with his ghost, who was a man I now idly give a cartoon nose, white skin, a beard, and I established was 40, and colouring in his hair. It's brown. It wasn't love. But it hurt, and left me complex. I am a real hole for you, not a barely noticeable fucking crack. David had a stupid way of laughing and a really fucking ugly blush. I swapped my stickers with him. I went on to exchange my motorbike for Christian's tank, an agreement which my father unhappily replied is a sort of extortion from infancy, but which made me sexually delight in having given away more than I had got back, for the delight is a secret. I make my sister wear the fantasy lieutenant shirt with the felt-tip arrows pinned onto the collar. Insignia. I lay under a cushion and asked her to jump on my head. She did. I like Roxette. I like Elite. I like cocoa butter on my carrots. Vaseline to Orpheus, my beautiful animal entryism. The police smack the people in Merrion Row, doing their jobs justice. At Millbank, the windows are booted down, voiding reinforcement. The Goldman boys look set to make our solvency heroic. Their genitals in plaster deck the halls like power drills. You walk from the Strand to Nelson, left at the corner into Whitehall. The police are instructed to ingratiate camera persons by ignoring them. The technique is borrowed right from the top. Tolerance of poverty is its paradigm. You film them and they film you. Synergy by right. Because the universe has been outmaneuvered, we individuals flourish. To put away your childish thing, cut the arc first. Say in the prophylactic tone of establishment sarcasm, what chance for debt reduction against the sheer nobility of our sentiments? If there will be a revolution in the UK, it will have to involve the army. War will continue either way, sugared by truth or not. Love is not the unswerving professional bias of police dogs. It has to be made from scratch at the first indication of its possibility. The French have their avantage acquis, as we in turn have ours. À peine rentrés les lampions, voilà que tombent les bombes. If we don't fight now, the super rich will harden into sultans. Deeply and truly, fuck them, one-way receptacles. At the corner of Parliament Square, the teenagers are standing on bus shelters. They're shouting for what they believe and feeling what you never will. Think of the anger you waste on gifts that might be used on money. Masturbation is not the love, it's betrayal of the workers. You can see the predisposition to moderate success in politics in the features of Aaron Porter, his flexible physiognomy. The thought of sex with him doesn't occur to the majority of his delegates. That's what makes him perfect for redefining compromise. The wall of glass smashed in looks like what Wordsworth saw in the flint windbreaker lying on the empty floor, to be a shard of broken glass shining like our life. Psychosis as the mirror of your dream, or justice. A cop with a freshly bandaged face is the punctum of the coverage. Her wide eyes make fear emblematic, glint on film intensely. At Sussex, they grab them and chuck them down the slope to be arrested. At the bottom of the slope, the women on minimum wage count the minutes of grind. I'm far from knowing what to do about any of this, or after it, but so long as my blood is attached to this will I live for by its motion, I create this pledge in utter solemnity. I will never deny it, but first to make this love for everyone shower from out my heart. The West Irish had nothing but tiny scraps of land with a cabin, a pig and some potatoes, but Belfast and Dublin had England. All countries must work together toward a mutual resolution of currency imbalances, or risk war, says the Governor of the Bank of England, tasked with making the genital state of Godzilla inevitable. But he is right. It is the answer Jesus would give if really pressed. Your job is to experience maximum anxiety, write, and see what happens. Minute to second, minute, first, second to second. It's not a joke to say that you learn from that, except you decline to. The energy in prosody is a social fact, still wet stream of the myriad I am. Consummated Islamabad dispatches rolled into a prolegomenon to our epigram. Smoke that shit. Passion swings both ways, unfixed to be enlarged, hungry for the majority of the earth. Robert's penis is a surprise. In my tent, it is more pink than I am. I am more red, or purple, or brown. I had guessed, startling me, but I suck it anyway, not to go back. I think it was an excruciation to him, and probably a morally significant embarrassment, because he never used it against me when I started punching his face in on the couch that my mother pissed herself on. Why did I do that? Smacking around with childish fists, deepening our wishes, blunting life in him and me, or smack that minuscule nameless boy who really explained that my fantasy car for sale could be given wheels, when I wanted to be flat and just glide. Toys are youth. The Victorian English have their more innocent green zones in India, from which to perorate on the superiority of peaceful trade. Indecorous kids slaughtering around all over the place, like the Russians via the French, and in any case very likely more proximate to redemption. If sex is the price for that, be it what you may. After all, sex disappears anyway. Remembering nothing at all the right moments is difficult. So much of the rest of your time is exchanged for the lot. Poverty porn is the price of its spiritual opposite. What you get up to, you pay for, but later. A strike is impossible unless we are quarry. Don't be a cunt and float through the roof. Proudhon concealed that inflation is theft by getting too famous about property. You are keeping it real. According to the definition of truth, adequatio rei et intellectus, harmony depends on you being no better than a load of fucking things. There is no end to it. There is no end to it. Only at the end is the absolute ever what it is in truth. Meanwhile, regular people like us get impatient. We adopt silence as compensation for our virtue in waiting for it, which I cannot do. And so I am angry to think about it, though I am not obliged to think about it, and I'm not obliged to be angry either. 2. Compassion should be balanced and sustainable like growth, not more balanced and more sustainable. Public sector workers will not solve our problem because they are net tax consumers. What you need is for people without any exposure to universalism to create our wealth. Wealth tastes better like that anyhow, less like Asian fusion. 3. The dream is finally to have no need of money of our own, like the government. But there is nothing to finalise. If you can't stymie your manipulations, you settle for monitoring their trade surplus, but either way, they're all the same. They leave you in the end for a Stärke Dasein. A huge rope of blood the width of a golf bag falls out of his eye when you shoot into it. You are a heroic soldier. The kindness I have enjoyed in my life has been more unusually beautiful from Hindus than from Christians, and much weirder. The very idea of a virgin birth is a slander against my sex. Yeah. And yours too, whatever the fuck that is, whoever you are beside me. Our blessing to this world is our desire, nothing else. China is now a multilateral partner. That joke about a reference to the answer to the reference to the joke about a reference to my life. Bush says 3 people were waterboarded and hold the zeros. Our text today is maintain physical integrity, but 100 times funnier, or 1,000 times funnier, or 1,000,000 times funnier. There is something we need to do about everything. Something we need to do about everything. Yeah. Something it is always hard to be. Career poets, the mainstream, they're all part of the problem, smearing up the polish, drying up the fire, chucking shit all over the place, banking on the nodding head, the reader saying, yes, that's what it's like, so as not to know what it's for, gaped at through the defrosted back window of the Audi, hence the spring for a neck. Yeah. We all know where that shit got us, being what we eat. The British have become snobs. We don't want to be security guards always getting the night shift at Kentucky Fried Chicken, married to sewage technician, subject to racist abuse, which intelligent politicians learn they must not be seen to regard as bigotry. But the immigrants are real because they do. They say, I am more realistic than you, but at least you listen. The EU ones, the EU immigrants, are the mainstream ones, the non-EU immigrants are the avant-garde. The real thing that causes massive growth in the size of the state is fighting major wars. The majority public sector is our beautiful honorarium for crushing the fucking fascists. Licking softly round the true hole cut out of destiny, the eyes I cross out in a fantasy shine right through. Burning about the profound hole connected to being dead, to love complaining in your head, in your soul. Our meaning is not an indulgence, or capital all our blood, distorting like a seed to bud in vengeance. Our representatives will lie, ever to beat back their rush. The cheese Lenin breaks his fist on your toothbrush, which I take for a sex toy. Friction conceptually bleeds into agony. The fire feeds its fiction. But that's how it contrives to go. Making it up as you go, back to block up the thing you go mad, needing. 4.2. Reconciliation with your mother on top of Spinozistic macroeconomics. What's the unrealised thing you ever did? Make it normal. When the camera zooms in, you're meant to brood. Fuck wish fulfillment. In the light of truth to life, back at the wandering twilight bypass. The reality of the halogen street lamp. Get stuck in and drift. Possibility is the exaggeration of impossibility. Neither is the best. Epicurean now means high in hydrogenated facts. You cream like pound. You never arrive to take what's coming to you seriously. Don't comb your soul for an isolation ward. Massification is life. Obstinate star, I don't really want to stop moving. We are different. Creationism is a tedious joke about the superiority of love to maths. Clown, come in the dream. My sternum explodes on Mahometan G-spots. I don't remember what I thought for all my only life. So what? When you first start writing, the vertical limit is everything left to define, but it fills up. Mouth your ocean. Beauty scratches your tongue out, floating behind the disguises of thread of elastic. Perfectionism makes love abscond to scapegoat paradise. Logic, the novel. Smile out a window. Impersonal outlines. Tenderness, sex, and rage. The vertical limit is past the unlimited average in the everything aisle. Domesticated pornography is like that. It's obviously not going to bite you. You're the wrong fucking flavour. You taste gone. Learn to barely smile at this. Induce your dispersal in objects. The value of objects begins in you. It's human originality. Humanity persists in making everything unsustainable by definition. The objects were this, or this, and this. Racine, air, the blackmail of our irides, testosterone, the open fridge, stars, seduction, saliva, Norman Lamont's, pick anything, FEMA, Visa, Pewter, ANC regional chairperson Dixon Mazemola, not your average mind bleed, nothing but the sloths. Run away into the pallid indefinite darkness, who burn up in this, the limit of radiance's secrecy. But it is no secret that Anglo-Irish Bank wants to pay out 40 million euros in bonuses, although I imagine being more savage than civilised about it. The strategic advantage of the charmingly modernist inferno of cheap modernist rubbish, well-presented modernist rock, and cracked west-facing modernist mud, benefiting from a vespertial crepusculum, opportune for masculine lamentation distinguished from female hysteria, is that it can be reconstituted by water, e.g. not otherwise than effortlessly, like a portable chicken. The sell-by date makes us both poisonous, but until then we're good for the margins. The whites of eyes of whites whose rights are wealth shine out our cries for help. Without cease, I flatter and caress myself into believing that an infinite muteness will hide my weakness, but my heart is too oppressed and rends this discourse from me, and I will speak to you this once, to be silent then forever. Do not inquire on what basis of hope this fatal love that possesses me is now founded. I do not accuse whatever diligent pangs I can hallucinate in Achilles, stooping to dignify my sufferings. The sky without doubt makes an inhuman joy to scramble at me every single trait of my hatred. Do I not terrifyingly go on memorising the day when you and I were tossed into our irons? I endure those cruel hands that ravish me without light or light for my days. In the end, my unfortunate eyes seek clarification, and I see myself pressed in an arm spattered with blood. I tremble, Doris, and fear to meet the monstrous face of my savage conqueror. I enter his flagship while detesting his fury, and always avert my view with horror. Then I saw him. His face turned out not to be ferocious. I felt the reproach expire in my mouth. My heart defines itself as my enemy. I forget my bad humour. I can do nothing but cry. I let myself be conducted by this oleaginous fucking Führer. I love him at Lesbos. I love him at Oli. Iphigenia makes an effort to protect me in vain, an extension of her hand doomed to fail me in my relief. Miserable consequences of these furies by which I am tormented. I only accept the hand that she presents to me to arm myself against her who, without revealing who I am, may live by her happiness free, which I cannot myself suffer. These are the hardest passages to write through, when there is nothing on the other side but the exhaustion of this claim to be there. Question. Was I more beautiful as a child than I am now? Will the sexual relationship between us, me and me as a child, be forever unequal, I wanting him more than he wants me? That child with the very probably more honourable claim to beauty, is he also my fucking father? Fucking my mother before I existed? Do I want myself in the hope that I want something beautiful at all? If I don't, is that freedom from what you want? Do I too easily forget how much I used to want myself in the future? How gorgeous I used to be when I was still imaginary? How sexy I was before I existed? How much more fucked I was before I was fucked? How hard the thought of barely having started living made me? I did desire myself then, but not as someone who is less of anything, e.g. older, not in any case invariably. I want myself with identical eyes and an asshole blissed out on the spring. Why is God into virgins? But now I look back, that boy, me, doesn't arouse me very much, in truth. I'd rather live in bed forever with all the women from my 20s, painting a sky of orgasms, acting insoluble forever. I remember the number I had beautiful sex with, but not their total number, or mine. Trotsky, on the publication by the Bolsheviks of the secret treaties between the Tsar Nicholas and his Western allies, 22nd of November 1917, I quote, "Secret diplomacy is a necessary tool for a propertied minority which is compelled to deceive the majority in order to subject it to its interest. Imperialism, with its dark plans of conquest and its robber alliances and deals, developed a system of secret diplomacy to the highest level. The struggle against the imperialism which is exhausting and destroying the peoples of Europe is at the same time a struggle against capitalist diplomacy, which has cause enough to fear the light of day. The Russian people, the peoples of all Europe, and the whole world should learn the documentary truth about the plans forged in secret by the financiers and industrialists together with their parliamentary and diplomatic agents. The peoples of Europe have paid for this right, for this truth, with countless sacrifices and universal economic desolation, end quote. In the prelude to absolute knowledge, we are all the phantasmatic sexual molestation charge from Sweden. Ordinary children grow up into the octagonal bankocracy, the better to be speculative in private, nothing left behind. Sounds more familiar? La Belibongo, human life. You become, in secret, my original accumulation of what you are forever lost to me for. Mine gets high in my mouth, but I will die before I cut it out. You are mine, and become mine in the open, my prodigal frittering of what you are left to me now. What I am left. Guns glued in iron, your scuffling air breathed very far away, but not your genitals, not your eyes, alike shining from bliss as you shun me to infinity. Oh love, this is my secret. In sum, I am nearly everything left to say. I prophesy a torment which induces death before we come. I am frightened, but is opaque. Mine means impossible clinging on. Consider the men of Athens. In all things physical, too superstitious. What you are now is not lost, but forever what you are now instead we shall. The workers, boo! Who said that? See now that I am he. The memories that run ahead pronounce the pronoun there. You see that now. Behind my cyst, a sycophantic skeleton burns to deliquesce to an inarticulate cretin. Count me up and down, you rapid fuck. The dark is on secondment in our flesh, burning at the limit of our light. The third bone in the ring finger is a particularly figurative headache. For the object revolves in the way on the road, the elastic snaps to drop, the subject bouncing to the central reservation as a scream. You hear it sinks in, you sink in. Since the frame is loose, it buzzes, which is so grating on the ear, stitched up on rebooted muses, how sculptated away in fear. There is no room alive inside my life for shit and milk to fill, but what you sabotage or hide in dreams, replies the windowsill. However, that may be bullshit. Not being maternal is free, flowing away to our credit's jurisdiction of secrecy. As in reality you trust the free clause paradis fiscal inserts to make our children lust infinitely to AIDS et al. But the US Treasury blocks the Libyan 30 billion, liberating the flesh from shocks to profit in palliation, so that there are both stops and starts computed again and again, in homage to the sister arts of universal love and pain. Marx said the Greeks were normal children. Not that you can eat them, or love them, or appeal to their infinity. Your infinity, meanwhile, is the backlash. Hot milk can't be sucked too hard. Cold milk won't go down. For the rest, it will be forever. The final cut, ultimate bucket, simple twists on the similes of eschatology, checkouts, etc. The last page of Aeschylus. Aslan's come, Aslan's come, Aslan's come. TL61P, a giant asshole with fire extinguishers for teeth. I thrive in clouds in attitude to my eternal gratitude. Plagueis cartopulus, human to the end. You are a dead end. You are a dead end. The Danny Boy incident. Yeah! Bidding for dreams by stretching is natural. Cleaning your teeth is moral, too. Blinded by the bright idea you have to see your living through. In battered cod, the probing tongue is flattered at the oiled bone. What effort to survive beyond the filleting? For me, it's the same with Palestinian corpses on BBC News. Don't worry too much if you don't get absolutely all the offer. Worry too much if you don't get all the offer when you first start. The idea at the beginning is to get some. You started it. Increasing as the dreams multiply. What's your fucking problem in the future? That we do not know yet. The phantoms will be harnessed, made to slam the freezer door, which expertly connected to a dynamo concealed inside the fridge below will cause the rupture in a glow, the infinite equivalent energy of a world unborn measured in the potential of future Siberian oil, justifying the Japanese. 2. Bidding for dreams is this natural to repeat is moral. 2. Think errors in scanning. Under the fat head of the pillar of labour is bloody bright idea. Squint at the national drug code, suppresses the universal product code. Nations of the mind, retail, the higher purposes is precious. This, zero compressed symbology. Ash in cod. Necrotic everything, that isn't on fire, but rips. The imperial edition of the EAN, thrown off for the spring fist, the meaning multiplies into the dreamy dark, exchanged via a GS1 econ message in the that future we do not know. The ghost is made to swing at all, but a mere GS1 EPC tag for global individual asset identifier. This, the freezer door, which expertly connected to a dynamo, like on Upsy, concealed inside the fridge below, that will cause the infinite licking Laura's rigid guard bar. The energy, this, of 1,000 suns, measured in spitting milk. Polaris strung out over Troy, Ohio. 3. Bidding for natural errors under the UPC Nations of the Mind Higher Purchase Zero Compressed Ash and Con isn't on fire but written EAN for the screen in the darkest strange GS1 Econ message. In the future we know is made to swing a GS1 EPC tag for Global Individual Asset Identifier. This is the freezer door, obviously expertly concealed below the infinite Laura's sheer drop. Thanks.
Yeah!
Fucking nonsense. Lovely as it could possibly be.
Fucking great.
Now let's get on. Yeah, don't get drunk, go home, or pack up.
Oh, you had to add 2 really boring suggestions. What was your first suggestion?
Thank you.
Oh,